Hi, I'm Shashank Bhargav, and you're listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about the rise of COVID 19 cases in Delhi. We also talk about the proposal for cutting defense pensions. But first, we talk about Arnab Goswami. Yesterday, Republic TV owner and editor in chief Arnab Goswami was arrested by the Maharashtra police. Arnab and Republic TV have been involved in multiple cases of FIRs over the past few months, including that of allegedly manipulating television ratings and communalizing incidents like the lynching of sadhus in Palghar. Though this arrest was in connection with a 2018 suicide case. The person who had died by suicide was a man named Anvay Nayak. He had been an architect. In this segment, Mohammad Thavar, who reports on crime in Mumbai for the Indian Express, joins us to talk about this arrest, the reactions it has caused, and the questions it raises. Mohammad, we are talking right now on Wednesday night. In the morning, Arnab Goswami was arrested by the Maharashtra police in a suicide case. Could you first talk about what exactly is this case about?
Right. One thing I'll clarify right at the beginning is a lot of people are thinking this is the Mumbai police that has arrested him. Mumbai police is not, Raigad police has. So basically what happened in May 2018 was that this Anvay Nayak, this man, he committed suicide. And even his mother's body was found in the Alibag bungalow. And in the suicide note, he had written that we are committing suicide because these three individuals, owners of companies, including Arnab Goswami, owe them 5 crore 40 lakhs. And they've not been paying us back, because of which our contractors have been, after us, and it's been very stressful. And the three names that he mentioned included Arnab Goswami's Republic and two other offices of different people. So based on the suicide note, the Raigad police in 2018 had registered an abetment to suicide case. Now, what happened after that was the police investigated, and in like a year later, in April 2019, they filed a summary closure report, which basically means that we could not find enough evidence against these people, so we are closing the case. But it also has a provision where if you find newer evidence, you can reopen the case. And the matter rested there. The family had been trying to kind of, get the case reopened. So at that point of time, it was the BJP government in power. Then, earlier this year, after the Mahavikas Aghadi government came, the family approached the new government as well. And in May this year, the Home Minister tweeted saying that, the family believes that there could have been political pressure. And because of that, we are kind of reopening the case and handing over the case to the CID. However, eventually what was decided was that instead of CID, the Raigad police itself will continue its investigation. And the case that they had closed in April 2019, it was reopened earlier last month on the grounds that the architect, his wife, had given a letter saying that, we suspect the investigation was not carried out properly, and that the investigating officer of the case was only interested in kind of closing the case down. So following that, the case was reopened, permission was taken from the local court, and the Raigad police in that connection has arrested 3 people today.
So you mentioned that Anvay Nayak's suicide note said that 3 companies owed him around 5.4 crore. How much of that did it say Arnab owes?
You're talking about 5.40 crores, 5 crores 40 lakhs, of which Arnab Goswami owed 83 lakhs, and a major chunk, 4 crores, was owned by another businessman for which this guy had worked.
And today we also had the family of Anvay Nayak, including his daughter, hold a press conference. What were the highlights of it? What did the family had to say?
So the family said that they were very happy with, the action being taken by the Maharashtra police, and that finally, after 2 years of running around, they finally got justice. They also made a few allegations. So they pointed out 3 instances to show how what they believe was the case being compromised. So they said, for example, in January last year, the investigating officer of the case had called them and asked them to sign a document. And when they read it, the document said that we want to close the case, and which was not their intention in the first place. They also said that the former SP who was investigating the case was not really interested in it. The main thing they said was that how the cops who were investigating it earlier were really, more interested in closing the case. Another thing that they have said is that how they also were facing a few threats. Like they said that they've given 4 police complaints where they have alleged that they've received anonymous calls or people have come on bikes and told them to kind of not pursue the case. So that is another allegation that they have made, that there were threats made out to them, and especially after. So they had started a YouTube channel this year. They said on their father's second death anniversary, and once they started putting the video, it went viral. After which, these threats started coming. And another thing that they said was that that they were not even aware that the police had closed the case. It was only after Republic issued a press release this year that they actually found out that the case had been closed a year back.
And so what happens now? What is Arnab Goswami now expected to do?
So see, now the remand, currently he's been produced before the court along with 2 others who would be named in the suicide note. And depending upon, the court may decide to send him to police custody or judicial custody. If he's sent to police custody, he will be, in police lockup, and he'll be interrogated by the police, and then he'll have to apply for bail. And if he's not granted bail, he may have to spend a few days behind bars.
So, it seems that Arnab for the past few months has been in the radar of the Maharashtra police. Even apart from this case, there are also other cases and FIRs that he has been involved in. Could you talk about those cases, and if this arrest was something that some people were, in a way expecting?
Right. So, see, basically, right from the beginning of the year, during the pandemic, there were 2 cases that were registered against him, wherein there was this incident of crowding by migrants outside Bandra station, and another of 2 sadhus being lynched, where it was alleged that he kind of gave it a communal color on his show. After which there were 2 FIRs registered, but the Bombay High Court had stayed investigation into those FIRs. After that, the Mumbai Crime Branch registered a case where he, along with 4 other channels, are alleged to have, paid money to boost their TRPs. Apart from these 3 FIRs, he was given summons to sign a bond of good behavior, which is done in cases where, you fear that this person could kind of come in conflict with law again. So he, at least at this stage, faces 3 FIRs and a bond of good behavior in addition to the Raigad police case.
And, there are many who are seeing this suicide case in particular as an excuse to arrest Arnab and even perhaps intimidate him, considering he has been critical of the Maharashtra government, and especially considering, the case was closed and has now been reopened. And like we discussed, when Arnab has already been involved in these other cases. So in that sense, what questions does it raise? And do these arguments have any teeth to them?
See, actually, the actual way to go about it would be to kind of look at it on a case to case basis. So, for example, in the suicide case, also, like technically under law, they can say that there is a provision under law to reopen the case. So, in a sense, both sides can justify their stand, where the police will say that, see, we can reopen the case. There was fresh evidence. His name is there in the suicide note. The family approached us. And Arnab can obviously say that this is an old case. And even in the FIRs that were registered in the TRP scam, after the TRP scam came out, then Arnab targeted the Mumbai Police Commissioner and the Maharashtra government, saying that they are out to kind of get him. So there has been this back and forth and these 2 polarizing set of views. And I believe that with this case, it kind of widens the gap more and more, wherein it is seen as these 2, in a sense, powerful entities, with the Republic having high TRPs and the Maharashtra government kind of in a face-off kind of a situation. And so there is that sense of what do you say, bias that either side do complain about. But eventually, at the end of the day, I mean, legally, what do the courts say? And eventually, in the long run, what does the investigation yield will, clarify things and kind of shed more light on whether these cases even stand in a court of law.
The other thing to consider is that Arnab has been a very divisive figure in the media, right? He is often described as being jingoistic and a provocateur. He has been accused of being a BJP supporter, and people are especially saying that now when you when you've had Home Minister Amit Shah and union ministers like Prakash Javadekar and Smriti Irani tweeting against his arrest. Plus, Arnab in the past has also been accused of propagating hate speech. Many in the media don't approve of his style of journalism. So how much of all that can we see in the reactions to his arrest?
Yeah, so see, that is what that has been reflected in the reaction that his arrest has seen. One very interesting thing that the daughter of Anvay Nayak, whose suicide led to these arrests, said. She said after the Sushant Singh case, when there was no suicide note left in it, Arnab on his shows kept saying that they should arrest Riya and Riya should be arrested for when there was no suicide note. And in his own case, when there is a suicide note that names him, he has a problem with that. In the past, Arnab is seen as someone, who kind of is like in the Sushant Singh Rajput case, who kind of did try to say that it was a murder and that Riya should be arrested and try to, lead the probe on in a certain sense. And even like, for example, in the case of the Palghar lynching and the Bandra incident for which he faces FIRs, there was that, allegation that he was kind of trying to show that Maharashtra government was not competent enough to save the sadhu. So in the past, he has faced allegations where he is seen to be targeting a particular government or a particular group of people, and hence when he is kind of like some people would say at the receiving end, a lot of people are also seeing it in context of the kind of content that he himself has put out in the past. But primarily, even a lot of media people have come out in his support. They have, even when they are supporting him, they have said that, even though Arnab has in the past not done the kind of stuff that a journalist is supposed to, even then, this could set a dangerous precedent for others in the future. So that is where, in a sense, that concern comes from, that the government may tomorrow then target someone who maybe is being targeted for actually kind of, speaking truth to power.
Dear listeners, before we move on to the rest of the show, I just wanted your quick attention. One of the big reasons people say they like this show is because it helps them understand the news better. It provides them with the context they need to see the bigger picture. And there is perhaps no other place that does that better than Indian Express's Explained section. We on Three Things refer to the section regularly, and it helps us make this show. If you're a regular reader of Indian Express, you know how useful the Explained section can be, especially when you're looking for in-depth analysis by the right experts. You can log on to indianexpress.com/explained and access the coverage 24/7. Explained by Indian Express, where news that matters is explained by experts who know the subject. Now, back to the show. Next, we talk about Delhi. As the pandemic rages on, Delhi has been seeing a sharp rise in cases. On Tuesday, the capital reported 6,725 COVID cases, the highest single-day spike for any city in the country so far. Prior to that, Pune had recorded over 5,900 cases in a single day back in September. In this segment, Astha Saxena, who reports on health for the newspaper, joins us to talk about the reason for this rise in cases and the strain it is putting on Delhi's hospitals. Astha, on Tuesday, Delhi saw the highest single-day spike in the country. There were over 6,700 cases that were recorded in a single day. What do experts say is the reason that Delhi is seeing this spike?
So, if we look at the last week data, we have been reporting over 5,000 cases on almost all days, barring Monday, but we have been reporting 5,000 cases on an average. So, in last 10 days, we have reported over 50,000 cases. And of course, the sudden rise in the cases is due to there are two reasons for it. Of course, first of all, is the change in the weather season. That is because of the respiratory illness due to this air pollution and winter season that has come. And second, and most important, is the festive season. So experts, they have been saying that Delhi will witness a rise in the month of November, assessing all these factors. And in fact, a high-level expert committee that has been formed by the Ministry of Home Affairs, it has said that Delhi will have 15,000 cases per day in the month of November, and the city should stay prepared for it. So right now we are moving towards that, but because the numbers are going up every day.
So then, considering the fact that Diwali is only 10 days away, cases will continue to rise then?
Yes, yes. And the actual result of these cases, we will get to know in December also. Because if somebody is falling ill in November, incubation period for COVID is 5 to 28 days. So sometimes the symptoms of the disease will come in next few days. So it is highly possible that those who are getting infected in the month of November may start showing symptoms in the month of December. So we can expect a rise in the cases in the month of December as well.
And this seems to be in sharp contrast to early of last month, right, when cases were dipping. In fact, you had reported that almost 63% of beds earmarked for COVID patients in hospitals were vacant at that point. Though now with this spike, what kind of strain is the city's health infrastructure experiencing?
Yeah. So if we compare it to the previous month, there is one major difference. Last time, when 63% of the beds were vacant, the 47% of the occupancy was a mixture of patients coming from Delhi and from other states because there was no lockdown restriction anymore. So many other patients were from other states were coming to Delhi in search of a better medical treatment. But this time, at the moment, we still have 66% beds vacant. But the strain on the healthcare system is coming on the ICU beds, which is mostly now occupied by the Delhiites. So the rise in the demand is coming from the Delhiites and not from the other states. So this is one thing that needs to be, highlighted. So these are the patients who are staying in Delhi, and the impact of the disease is spreading in the city only, and it's not coming from the other states. So we have to stay prepared because we can't say that this time most of the patients are from other states and they are putting the healthcare putting the strain on our healthcare system. It is from the residents from the Delhi who are falling ill, testing positive for the disease, and they are in need of a bed at the moment.
Right. And early on, Delhi government had taken over hospitals and banquet halls to create facilities for COVID-19 patients. Is that something they're planning to do this time as well?
Right now, there's nothing like that on the cards because I've spoken to some of the experts. So they are saying that right now they are focusing on two things that not many. So not the fertility rate is going up, and we should have a good recovery rate. So these two are very important parameters. If we have a good recovery rate, then of course the number of people who are getting recovered are almost equal to those who are getting tested for the disease. So it creates an equilibrium, right? And if the fertility rate doesn't go up, so it also shows the severity of the disease. So that means most of the patients who are getting positive for the disease are having mild and moderate symptoms, and they can be treated under home isolation. So when we say that most of the patients are having mild and moderate symptoms, that means that not many patients are turning severe, and the strain on the healthcare system will be less, and it will give a breather to the healthcare workers who have been working for so long and treating the patients for over 8 months now.
And how is the Delhi government doing in terms of things like surveillance, contact tracing, and ensuring that enough people continue to get tested?
Right. So Delhi has made a slight change in its technique. So earlier, it was revealed through an RTI that if one person is getting tested for COVID, 3 of its contacts are getting traced, only 3 of its contacts. So that has been actually aggressively pushed, and now at least 13 of the contacts are being traced. So the government is putting more pressure on aggressive testing and contact tracing. This is what they are saying is also one of the reasons why more and more cases are getting detected over the last few days, that they have actually ramped up the testing facilities and contact tracing, which is very important for tracking the patients. Because if we are able to track the patients through the right corners, then of course we can get hold of the disease and we can also contain it.
And so then the testing has been increasing then?
Yeah, testing has been there, and the city has been improving the number of RT-PCR tests also. Even today, Delhi Health Minister said that they are focusing more on highly populated areas and market areas, and they are planning testing in these areas so that more and more people can be tested where there is a crowded place, and even increasing the RT-PCR test also.
Also, considering experts are saying this kind of spike has a lot to do with the festive season, have we seen this in other places as well?
We saw it in Kerala at the time of Pongal. There was a huge spike in the number of cases because people have started to going out. They are not wearing masks. They are not following social distancing rules. There are no more strict guidelines. People are going to offices. So this is one of not taking proper, not following the social distancing rule, not wearing masks. It's one of the major reasons why people are falling into this disease. We have to actually continue wearing our mask. That's the only vaccine that all the experts are saying. Even the top health experts, they say even till the time we don't get a vaccine, mask is the only way to protect our health. So we have to continue following those rules. We can see that at the moment we have been seeing photos of Sadar Bazaar, Chandni Chowk, Lajpat Nagar. All the marketplaces are very crowded and people are hardly following any social distancing rule. We can't even walk there properly. So of course there is no space to maintain distance. So that's one of the reasons.
And in the end, we talk about the military. A letter from the Department of Military Affairs has proposed a drastic cut in pension for officers seeking premature retirement from service and an increase in retirement age. According to the report by Man Aman Singh Chinna, the letter is being widely shared in military circles and has been receiving adverse comments. Memes of Chief of Defence Staff General Bipin Rawat in response to the letter are also being shared on social media. The proposal, among other things, indicates that the pension for officers seeking premature retirement will be cut between 50% to 75%. When it comes to increasing the age of retirement, experts say that it will also consequently lead to the stopping of re-employment being offered to colonels and brigadiers after retirement. Defense pensions have been increasing over the years, and the military has been grappling with methods to bring them down. In fact, traditionally, India has spent more on defense pensions than it has on education or even health. In the Union budget for 2020-21, more than 1,33,000 crore was spent on it. Back in February, we had done a segment talking about this problem in detail. The link for it is in today's episode description. You were listening to Three Things by The Indian Express. Today's show was written and produced by me, Shashank Bhargav, and as always was edited and mixed by our producer, Joshua Thomas. Before we go, here's another reminder to check out Indian Express's Explain section. You can log on to indianexpress.com/explain and find in-depth analysis by the right experts. It has everything you need to know to understand the news better and see the bigger picture. If you like this show, then you can subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it, share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Audio and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.